How interesting that you use that word now. Where was your respect when your wife asked if my salary was enough to live on? Where was it when she suggested I was a burden to my son? Where was it when she offered to buy me off so I'd disappear? Franklin clenched his jaw. Veronica just wanted to help. I corrected her. Veronica wanted to control. She wanted to ensure that the poor mother wouldn't ruin her daughter's perfect image. She wanted to eliminate the weak link in the chain. The problem is, she chose the wrong link. I looked at Simone. Her head was bowed, her hands in her lap, trembling. "Simone," I said softly. She looked up. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know that my parents—" "Don't finish that sentence," I interrupted her. "Because you did know. Maybe you didn't know about my money, but you knew how your parents are. You know how they treat people they consider inferior, and you did nothing to stop them." Simone sobbed. "I wanted to say something, but they are my parents." "I know," I replied. "And Marcus is my son, and yet I let him make his own decisions. I let him choose his life, his wife, his path, because that is how you love, with freedom, not with control, not with money, not with manipulation." Marcus came closer to me. "Mom, forgive me. Please forgive me for never asking, for assuming, for thinking you were—" His voice cracked. I hugged him. "You don't have to apologize, son. I did what I did for a reason. I wanted you to be independent, to value the right things, not to depend on me financially, to build your own life. But you made me feel like I had to protect you," Marcus said, "that I had to worry about you, that you were fragile." "I know," I replied. "And it wasn't wrong that you thought that, because that's how you learn to care, to worry about others, to be empathetic. Those are lessons money can't buy." Marcus hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Veronica was still standing, rigid, watching the scene with a mixture of confusion and contained rage. "This doesn't change anything," she finally said. "You lied. You deceived us. You came here with hidden intentions. You acted in bad faith." "That's true," I nodded. "I acted. I pretended to be something I'm not. Exactly what you do every day." "What is that supposed to mean?" Franklin asked. "It means that you hide behind your money, behind your jewels, behind your trips, behind everything you can buy, but inside you are empty. You don't have deep conversations. You don't have real interests. You have nothing to offer beyond a bank account." Veronica gave a dry, bitter laugh. "Coming from someone who lied all night, that's hypocrisy." "Perhaps," I replied, "but my lie exposed the truth, your truth, and now you can't hide. Now you know that I saw you, that I felt every comment, that I stored every insult disguised as advice, and that I will never forget it." The waiter timidly approached. "Excuse me, would you like anything else?" Franklin shook his head abruptly. "Just the check." The waiter nodded and disappeared. Veronica sat back down, defeated. Her posture was no longer elegant. It was the posture of someone who had just lost something important, and it wasn't money, it was power. "Elara," she said, in a softer, less aggressive voice, "I don't want this to ruin the relationship between our families. Marcus and Simone love each other. They have a life together. We can't let this—" I interrupted her. "Let this what? Let this ruin your plans? Let this expose what you really think? It's too late for that, Veronica. The damage is done. But we can fix it," she insisted. "We can start over." "No," I cut her off firmly. "We can't, because now I know who you are, and you know who I am. And that truth cannot be erased with empty apologies or fake smiles. You treated me like trash, and you did it with pleasure because you thought you could." Franklin cleared his throat. "You were the one who came here lying. You provoked this situation." "You're right," I nodded. "I provoked this because I needed to know. I needed to confirm what I already suspected, that you are not good people, that your money doesn't make you better, that you are exactly the kind of people who despise others for not having the same things." Veronica wiped away a tear. We are not bad people. Maybe not, I replied, but you are definitely not good, and there is a huge difference between those two things. The waiter returned with the check and left it in the center of the table. No one touched it. Veronica looked at my black card still in her hands, then looked at me. I'm not going to use your card, she said. We will pay our own bill, as we always do. Perfect, I replied. Then keep that card as a souvenir, as a reminder that not everything is as it seems, that the woman you scorned all night has more than you will ever have. And I'm not just talking about money. Veronica put the card down on the table. I don't want it. I don't want your moral lecture either. I pushed it back toward her. Keep it anyway, because something tells me you'll need it. Someday you'll run into someone like me, someone who pretends to be less than they are, and you'll make the same mistake again, because people like you never learn. Franklin took out his wallet, pulled out several credit cards, all golden, all shiny. He chose one and put it on the check. The waiter took it and left. No one spoke during those waiting minutes. The silence was thick, uncomfortable, and heavy. Simone cried quietly. Marcus held my hand. Veronica stared at the wall. Franklin checked his phone to avoid eye contact. The waiter returned. Sir, your card was declined. Franklin looked up abruptly. How was it declined? The waiter repeated. Declined. Do you have another form of payment? Franklin turned red. That's impossible. That card has an extremely high limit. It must be a system error. The waiter shrugged. I can try again if you like. Franklin handed him another card. The waiter left. Veronica nervously looked at her husband. What happened? I don't know, Franklin replied, irritated. It must be a bank error. Maybe they froze the account for security. It happens sometimes when you travel. I nodded with feigned understanding. Of course those things happen. How inconvenient. The waiter returned again. I'm sorry, sir. This one was also declined. Franklin stood up. This is ridiculous. I'm calling the bank right now. He stormed out of the restaurant. Veronica remained seated, ashamed, humiliated. This has never happened to us, she murmured. Never. What terrible timing, I commented without emotion. Marcus looked at the check. Mom, No, I interrupted him. You are not paying for anything. I took out my wallet, a simple old leather wallet. I pulled out another card. This one was not black. It was transparent, made of heavy metal. A card that less than 1% of people in the world possess. I put it on the table in front of Veronica. She looked at it. Her eyes widened. She recognized what it was. That's a Centurion card. That's right, I replied. American Express, exclusive invitation, minimum annual spending requirement of $250,000, $5,000 annual fee just for having it, and benefits you can never imagine. Veronica said nothing. The waiter took the card carefully, as if it were something sacred. He returned in less than 2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Sterling. Everything is settled. Would you like the receipt? It's not necessary, I replied. The waiter nodded and left. Veronica continued looking at the space where the card had been. I stood up, took my old wallet, my canvas tote, and looked at Veronica one last time. The dinner was delicious. Thank you for the recommendation of the place, and thank you for showing me exactly who you are. You saved me a lot of time, a lot of energy, and many future disappointments. Veronica finally looked up. Her eyes were red, not from crying, but from contained rage. This doesn't end here, she said, her voice trembling. You can't just humiliate us and walk out as if nothing happened. Simone is our daughter. Marcus is our son-in-law. We will still be family. You will have to see us. You are right, I smiled. I will have to see you at birthdays, Christmases, and family gatherings, but now I will see you differently. I will no longer wonder what you think of me. I already know. And you will know that I know, and you will live with that every time you see me, every time you pretend to be kind. You will remember this night. Franklin returned to the table. His phone was in his hand. His face was pale. There's a problem with the accounts, he said. A temporary block. For security, it will be resolved tomorrow." He looked at the table. "Did they pay already?" "Yes," Veronica replied without looking at him. "She paid." Franklin looked at me. His pride was shattered. "Thank you," he murmured. It was barely audible. "You're welcome," I replied. "That's what family is for, isn't it? To help each other, especially when someone needs a small allowance, say $700 or, in this case, $800, which is what this dinner cost." Franklin closed his eyes. Veronica clenched her fists in her lap. Marcus approached. "Mom, let's go, please. It's enough." I looked at him. "You're right. It is enough." I turned to Simone. She was still crying quietly. "Simone," I said softly. She lifted her head. "You are not to blame for how your parents are. No one chooses their family. But you do choose how you act, how you treat others, how you will raise your own children someday." Simone nodded through her tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "Don't apologize again," I told her. "Just learn. Learn that money does not define people, that humility is not weakness, that respecting others costs nothing, and that if you ever have children, teach them to see the heart of people, not their bank account." Simone sobbed harder. Marcus hugged her. Veronica looked away. Franklin checked his phone again, avoiding all eye contact. I headed for the exit. I took a few steps, then stopped and turned around one last time. "Ah, Veronica, one more thing." She looked at me. "Do you remember when you said you speak 4 languages? Veronica frowned. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Just curious," I replied. "In which of those 4 languages did you learn to be kind? Because clearly it wasn't in any of them." Veronica opened her mouth, but no words came out. "Exactly," I said. "You can speak 100 different languages and still not say anything worth listening to." I walked out of the restaurant. Marcus walked beside me. The fresh night air hit my face. I breathed deeply. I felt as if a huge weight had been lifted off me. Not a physical weight, but an emotional one. The weight of pretending, of tolerating, of keeping silent. Marcus took my arm. "Mom, are you okay?" "Perfectly fine," I replied. "Better than ever. And you, Marcus?" Marcus sighed. "I don't know. I'm processing everything. I can't believe you never told me about your job, about your money, about everything you accomplished." I stopped and looked him in the eyes. "Does it bother you?" He quickly shook his head. "No, of course not. I'm proud, incredibly proud. But I also feel foolish, blind." "You are not foolish," I told him. "You simply saw what I wanted you to see. And I did it on purpose because I needed you to grow up without depending on me, without feeling you had an economic safety net waiting for you. I needed you to fight, to work, to value everything you achieved on your own." Marcus nodded. "I understand. But now I also understand why you never complained, why you never asked for help, why you always seemed so calm, because you needed nothing." I smiled. "I needed many things, son. Only none of them could be bought with money. I needed to see you grow up, see you become a good man, see you make the right decisions." "And I achieved that, even marrying Simone?" he asked in a weak voice. "Even marrying Simone," I replied. "She is not her parents. She can learn. She can change. But that depends on her and on you, on how you build your relationship, on what values you choose to follow." Marcus remained silent, processing, thinking. A taxi stopped in front of us. I had called for a rideshare as we left. I opened the door. Marcus stopped me. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you do it? Why did you come pretending to be poor? Why didn't you just tell them the truth from the beginning?" I closed the taxi door. I turned to him. "Because I needed to know, son. I needed to confirm if my suspicions were correct, if Simone's family was really as I imagined. And unfortunately, I was right." Marcus lowered his gaze. "I'm sorry." "You don't have to apologize for them," I told him. "But you do have to decide what kind of husband you want to be, what kind of father you want to be someday." "What do you mean?" he asked. I mean that you have just seen two very different ways of handling money and power. Your in-laws' way and mine. They use it to control, to humiliate, to feel superior. I use it to have freedom, to help without showing off, to live peacefully. You decide which path to follow." Marcus slowly nodded. "I understand." I opened the taxi door again and got in. I rolled down the window. Marcus came closer. "Mom, one last question. Tell me, are you ever going to forgive Veronica and Franklin?" I thought about it for a moment. "Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting," I replied. "Nor does it mean allowing it to happen again. I might forgive them someday when I see a real change, when they start seeing people as people, not as numbers. But until then, I will simply be polite, distant, and extremely cautious." "And me?" Marcus asked. "Do you forgive me for not asking? For assuming? For allowing this dinner to happen?" I looked at him tenderly. "Son, there is nothing to forgive. You did what you thought was right. You wanted your family to meet. That is beautiful. What happened afterward was not your fault. It was theirs, and a little bit mine, too, because I decided to play their game." Marcus smiled weakly. "You won." "I won," I nodded, "but I don't feel victorious. I feel tired and sad because I confirmed something I didn't want to confirm, that some people will never change, that some families are broken even if they have money, that there are voids no bank account can fill." The taxi driver cleared his throat. "Ma'am, should we go?" "Yes," I replied. "Give me 1 second." I looked at Marcus one last time. "Go to Simone. Talk to her, listen to her, support her. But also be honest. Tell her how you felt tonight. Tell her what you expect from her family and from her. Because if you don't establish boundaries now, this will happen again and again." "I will," Marcus promised. "I love you, Mom, and I mean it more now than ever, because now I know who you really are, and you are incredible." I smiled. "I love you too, son. I always have. I always will, no matter how much money I have or don't have, because love has no price, and that is a lesson Veronica and Franklin will never learn." Marcus stepped away from the taxi. I gave a signal to the driver. "Can we go?" The taxi started. I looked out the window. I saw Marcus walking back toward the restaurant, his shoulders slumped, thoughtful. He was probably going back to find Simone, to face his in-laws, to have difficult conversations. And I felt proud, because that meant he was maturing, he was learning, he was choosing to be better than the example he had just witnessed. The taxi sped through the city's illuminated streets. I closed my eyes and thought about everything that had happened, every word, every look, every moment of tension, and I wondered if I had done the right thing, if I had been too harsh, too cruel, too vengeful. But then I remembered every disguised insult, every condescending comment, every look of disdain, and I knew that no, I hadn't been too anything, I had simply been honest. Finally, the taxi was crossing the empty streets of the night. The lights of the buildings flashed quickly past the window. I opened my old canvas tote and took out my phone. A simple phone, nothing ostentatious, nothing attention-grabbing. I had 3 unread messages. One from my assistant asking about a Monday meeting, another from a colleague congratulating me on a closed contract, and one from an unknown number. I opened the unknown message. It was from Simone. "Mother-in-law, please forgive me. I didn't know my parents would be like that. I am ashamed. I need to talk to you, please." I looked at the message for a long time. I thought about responding. Then I decided not to. No, she still needed time. She needed it too. Words rushed out of guilt rarely mean anything real. True changes take time, reflection, and consistent action. I put the phone aside. The taxi driver looked at me through the rearview mirror. "Excuse me for asking, ma'am, is everything okay?" I looked up at him. "Yes, everything is fine. Why?" "Well, you got in very quietly. And normally the people who come out of that restaurant are happy, talking about how delicious the dinner was. You came out as if you had been in a war." I smiled slightly. "Something like that. Was it that obvious?" He shrugged. "I've been driving a cab for 20 years. I've seen it all. Drunk people, people fighting, couples breaking up, families arguing. And you have that look of someone who just said something they'd been keeping inside for years. You're perceptive, I told him. It's my job, he replied. Plus it helps pass the time. Do you want to talk about it? You don't have to, but sometimes it helps to tell things to a stranger. Someone who isn't going to judge you, someone who doesn't know you. I thought about his offer. It was tempting, but I shook my head. Thank you, but I think I've talked enough for today. He nodded. I understand, but let me tell you something. Whatever happened in there, you did the right thing. I know because you are calm. You are not crying. You are not screaming. You are processing, and that means you spoke your truth. And the truth always brings peace, even if it hurts. His words surprised me. He was an older man, maybe 60 years old, with gray hair and working hands. A simple man, like the one I pretended to be. Do you believe in the truth? I asked him. I believe in honesty, he replied. Not always the absolute truth, because the truth changes depending on who tells it. But honesty doesn't. Honesty is saying things the way you feel them, without masks, without lies, even if it hurts, even if it makes things awkward, even if it costs you something. I nodded. You're right. My wife always told me I was too direct, he continued, that I said things without a filter, that I hurt people without meaning to, and maybe she was right. But she also told me that she never doubted me because she knew that what came out of my mouth was real, not calculated, not manipulated, just real. I smiled. She sounds like a good woman. She was, he replied. She died 5 years ago. I'm sorry, I said sincerely. He shook his head. Don't be sorry. We had 40 years together. 40 years of honesty, of fights, of reconciliations, of laughs, of tears. And not once did I go to sleep wondering what she really thought because she always said it. And so did I. That is a gift. You're right, I murmured. It's a gift. The taxi stopped at a red light. Can I ask you something personal? The taxi driver asked. Go ahead. Are you rich? The question took me by surprise, not because of the question itself, but because of the direct way he asked it. Why do you ask that? Because I picked you up from a $1,000 per person restaurant, but you dress like someone who shops at discount stores. You have an old bag, worn-out shoes, but you talk like an executive. You move like someone with power, and you paid for my cab with crisp new bills that you pulled out of a wallet that looks 20 years old. Observant, I commented. Part of the job, he repeated. Then am I? It depends on how you define rich, I replied. If you are talking about money, yes, I have enough, more than enough. If you are talking about happiness, I also have peace, health, a son I love, work I am passionate about. That makes me rich in many ways. He nodded, satisfied. I knew there was something. Truly rich people don't need to prove it. The light changed to green. The taxi moved forward. And what happened in that restaurant? He asked. If it's not too indiscreet. I pretended to be poor, I replied, to see how they would treat me. He let out a loud laugh. Seriously? That is brilliant. And how did they treat you? Like trash, I said without emotion. They humiliated me. They offered me alms. They treated me as if I were invisible, less than human. He stopped laughing. I'm sorry. That must have hurt. A little, I admitted. But it also confirmed something for me, that I was right about those people, that they weren't worth my time, that they didn't deserve my respect. And now they know it. Now they know who I am, and they will have to live with that shame. The taxi driver whistled softly. That must have been epic. It was, I smiled. It definitely was. We arrived at my building, an older, middle-class building. Nothing luxurious, nothing impressive, but comfortable, safe, home. The taxi driver parked and looked at the building. You live here? I live here, I confirmed. He shook his head, astonished. You truly are special. Most people with money move to expensive areas, to buildings with doormen, private security, gyms, and pools. You live like a normal person. I am a normal person, I replied. I just have more money than most. But that doesn't make me different. It doesn't make me better. Money is just a tool, not an identity. He smiled. I wish more people thought that way. The world would be better. I took out my wallet. How much is it? $30, he replied. I gave him a $100 bill. Keep the change, ma'am. This is too much. It's not, I said. You listened to me. You gave me perspective. You reminded me that there are still good people. That is worth more than $70. He took the bill carefully. Thank you. Truly. Thank you. Thank you, I replied. And take care of that honesty. It's rare. It's valuable. Don't lose it. I won't, he promised. I got out of the taxi, closed the door. He rolled down the window. Ma'am, one last thing. Tell me. Whatever happened tonight, don't regret it. Don't feel sorry, because people like you, the people who speak the truth, even if it hurts, are the ones who change the world. Little by little, one conversation at a time. I smiled. Thank you. I will remember that. The taxi drove away. I stood in front of my building, looking up at my 5th floor window. The light was off, dark, silent, waiting for me. I entered the building and walked up the stairs. I never used the elevator. I preferred to walk, to stay active. I reached my door. I took out my keys, the same keys I had had for 15 years. I opened the door. The apartment was cold, empty. I turned on the light. Everything was in its place. The simple living room, the small kitchen, the dining room with mismatched chairs, the walls without expensive artwork. And I felt at peace because this place was mine, truly mine, not bought to impress, not decorated to show off, simply a space where I could be myself, without masks, without pretensions. I took off my old shoes, took off the wrinkled gray dress, and put on comfortable clothes, and old, soft, familiar pajamas. I made myself some tea, sat on the sofa, and turned on the television. News. Nothing interesting. I turned it off. I sat in silence, thinking, processing, feeling. And for the first time in many years, I felt completely free. Free from pretending, free from being silent, free from tolerating, free from being less than I was. Because that night, I didn't just expose Veronica and Franklin, I also liberated myself from expectations, from judgment, from the need to hide who I was. And that was invaluable. More than any amount in my bank account. My phone vibrated. Another message, this time from Marcus. Mom, did you get home safely? I smiled. I quickly replied, Yes, son. I arrived perfectly fine. I'm home resting. His reply was immediate. I love you. Thank you for everything, for being who you are, for teaching me, for never giving up. I closed my eyes. I felt a tear roll down my cheek. Not from sadness, from relief, from love, from gratitude. I replied, I love you too, always. I put the phone aside. I drank my tea. I looked around my simple apartment, my sanctuary, my truth, and I smiled. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter how much money I had. It didn't matter how high I had climbed in my career. The only thing that mattered was this moment, this peace, this honesty with myself. I woke up early on Sunday, as always. 40 years of working had trained me to rise with the sun. Even though it was my day off, my body no longer knew how to sleep late. I prepared strong coffee, black. I sat by the window with a hot mug in my hands. I watched the city wake up, the vendors opening their stalls, people walking somewhere. Life continued as always, indifferent to personal dramas. My phone started ringing. It was a familiar number, Marcus. I answered. Good morning, son. His voice sounded tired. Mom, I need to talk to you. Did something happen? A lot, he replied. Last night, Simone and I talked for hours. Her parents were there too. It was intense. I took a sip of coffee. Tell me. Marcus sighed deeply. After you left, I went back to the restaurant. Veronica and Franklin were still there, waiting for their cards to work. It was humiliating for them. Simone was devastated, crying, and I was furious, more furious than I have